What is going on, everybody? This is your man, Big B, Brian Hanley, and welcome to Steelers Almighty. Appreciate everybody being in here, man. Thank you guys for showing up like you guys always do. Got a lot to talk about today. Just want to get in touch with you guys. Thank you guys for showing up as you guys are starting to trickle in. Man, 24 hours later. What's going on, Vaughn? What's going on, Zay Curry? What's going on, Chris? Jared Devil? What's happening? Look, here's basically what's up. 24 hours later, after the trade, how are we feeling? How do we feel about it? That's what we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Who's out there that we can add? You know, there's still some wide receivers out there that we can add. The talk yesterday, initially right after the trade, was the Steelers aren't done. So if that's it, okay, great. But where do we go? And then is this the same old Steelers? And when I say that, we made a trade in the offseason. Everybody got excited, only to end up back in the same exact spot as we are right now, or as we were all of last season. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Again, appreciate everybody being in here. Thank you guys. Felicia. All right. Got our first member of the day. We appreciate you, Felicia. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Thank you, guys. Again, man, if you want to become a member, we got a lot of member perks, man. So there's 5 different levels to doing that. Make sure you sign up. But if not, and you just want to help support the channel, man, I appreciate you guys. You know how to do that. Super chats are wide open if you want your comment, question, or rant up on the screen. But we appreciate you, Felicia. Thank you very, very much. So having said all that, people, let's get after this. So first things first, how are we feeling? How are we feeling 24 hours after the trade? I mean, look, I kind of started doing it yesterday as we got on. You know, on Wednesdays is kind of my break day. You know, we do a lot during the week. We do a lot of content. I love doing content on the Steelers. That's why I started this channel a year ago with me and my partner. And, you know, we do a ton. And Wednesday is usually the day, okay, let's take a breath, especially when we got rookie mini camp coming up this week. And we're going to be live Friday, Saturday, and Sunday after practice, letting you guys know exactly what happened. So there's that. The thing about all of this is I started to turn the page yesterday because you guys know me. It's like, look, what's done is done. I don't make the decisions. I can't change it. We vent about it, and then it's time to move on. You know, we get upset. Hey, what's going on, Michael? Appreciate you showing up, man. We get mad, and then it's time to move on. No, Craig. No Thunderbird, brother. No. We can't start with the Thunderbird this early in the morning, man. Not this early in the morning. I like what you're saying here, Digital Dust. He's saying that no hostages or knuckleheads. It kind of seems like the Pittsburgh Steelers are now starting to take that approach. That you don't have to have all choir boys on your football team. Matter of fact, you shouldn't have all choir boys on your football team. But you can't have knuckleheads, or you don't have to have a bunch of knuckleheads, or you don't really have to have any. And it seems like the Steelers are like, you know what? We like George Pickens. We love his talent. He's an extremely talented guy, but he doesn't know how to act. He hasn't changed. We've had some talks in the offseason. He still hasn't changed. So we're going to move on and get some draft capital before we even have to deal with any of the nonsense. That's kind of the way that I'm approaching this thing, is that I don't know. I just think that's kind of the thing. Is like, they're like, we're done with it. Now, I wish they would have done this before the draft, but it sounds like the Steelers tried to do that and nobody was biting. Like, nobody was like, yeah, we'll go ahead and take on George Pickens. And here's the thing, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday. Let me know if you guys agree with it, is that it seems like the market for knucklehead wide receivers, or I don't even want to call diva wide receivers, because I think that the word diva gets thrown out way too much. I hate the word, to be quite honest with you, because there's one thing to just want the football. There's another thing to just be an idiot. And George Pickens fell into the latter. And it's one thing. I just think the market for knucklehead wide receivers has kind of dried up. Teams are like, yeah, we don't need to deal with that. There's too many talented wide receivers coming in college that we can bring in that aren't idiots. There's too many of them. Too many of them. And you think of the top receivers right now in the National Football League. You think of who those guys are. Your Jamar Chases, your Justin Jeffersons, your Amon-Ra St. Brown. You know, you could throw Tyreek Hill still into that, because I still believe Tyreek Hill. Now, Tyreek Hill's an idiot. Don't get me wrong. He's an idiot. But he's older and he's on his way out. And I don't think Miami has a way out of that, because they would have to eat too much money. But you think of the top 10 receivers, CeeDee Lambs of the world. Those guys are not knuckleheads. They're not. You know, those guys are not getting in trouble with the law or getting in trouble with their team or calling all their teammates out. That isn't happening with those guys. So I think the banter of all this is like, teams are like, hey, man, there's too many receivers out there that we don't have to deal with this stuff. And so they're not dealing with it. So, and I agree. You know, and look, the Steelers made the move. I didn't like it initially. I still don't like it, because I still would have loved to see Pickens and Metcalf play together, because it would have changed how defenses could have played against us. But what am I going to do? Like, at some point, you got to get over. Some people are going to wait. Some people might be mad all season. Some people are going to wait till training camp, whatever, whenever that time is. But for me, I'm past it. I don't like the move, but it doesn't matter whether I like it or not. And we just got to move on. We got to move on. But I'm asking you guys, how do you guys feel? My man Zay Curry says, oh, yeah, GP did say he wasn't looking forward to the offense next year. Don't let the door hit you. I mean, GP has said a lot of stuff. He said a lot of stuff, you know. And whether and I get it, Cross, and he was mentally done with the Steelers, and I think the Steelers were mentally done with him. So I don't think he's going to destroy the Cowboys, but they might, because the Cowboys, look, I live here in Dallas, and the new coach is already talking about, hey, we're going to move lockers. You know, we're going to move guys around to build a culture. Kind of like when we were in the third grade and you went through the first 9 weeks, and then your teacher said, you know what? We're going to move everybody's desk around so everybody can get to know everybody. Just move you around for the hell of it. That's what the Cowboys are doing in their locker room now. Some third grade nonsense. I mean, shit. But I mean, with grown men who have been in a certain locker for years, all of a sudden I got to move because you want me to know somebody else? Like, what are we talking about, man? Like, you think that's going to work but whatever. Oh, man. Yes. Spiritual war exposed. Yes. I used to hate it too. I'm like, man, I'm just getting good. I'm just settling in. I got this girl that sits next to me that I like talking to. My boys are just up here right on the left. Now, all of a sudden, you're moving us around. Like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Oh. Yeah, my boy Big G has been crashing out for the better part of 2 days, people. He's been crashing out for the better part of 2 days. He can't get over it. Like I said, I don't like it. I already crashed out. I crashed out for an hour before we went on air yesterday, but it is what it is at this point, man. It is what it is. So it's just, we'll see. We'll see. Um, and my thing is, like, why can't the Steelers keep wide receivers? Like, what is going on that the Steelers can't keep wide receivers? Is it Mike Tomlin? Or because a lot of people say, well, it's Mike Tomlin. Okay. But what is Mike Tomlin doing? Like, what's he doing other than he allows bad behavior? But isn't he getting rid of the bad behavior now? Like, we say, hey, it's Mike Tomlin, he's allowing this. Well, maybe Mike Tomlin, because if you remember at the end of last year, Mike Tomlin said, yeah, man, there is a lot of growth that he still needs to do. He's made some strides, but he still needs a lot of growth. Isn't that all you're asking from your leader, is to say, hey, man, this guy, look, he's got to grow up? How many times did Tomlin say that about Pickens last year? And then finally, they got rid of him. Isn't that what we wanted? If he won't do what you're asking him to do, for instance, like just say it's, I don't know, I don't want to relate it to kids because your kid is something different. You know, if your kid doesn't do what you want them to do as a child, you spank their ass. You know, that's something different. You're not spanking grown men's ass, okay? But as a basketball coach, just say like in high school, or football coach in high school, if they don't do what you want them to do, or what you want them to do, you just either you cut them. If they keep making stupid mistakes, you just get rid of them. Well, that's what the Steelers did. They got rid of them. So they did. Now, Darwin is saying it's not the Steelers. It's young black men not appreciating the opportunity. Okay? So now it's a racial thing. These guys need to grow up and realize what sacrifices was made for them to have this opportunity. I'm going to go by that because I don't think it has anything to do with black people. So I don't think that has anything to do with young black men not understanding. Can't it just be young men not understanding? But I'm going to get past that. But you're right. They don't have the appreciation for it. They don't. And they don't understand the opportunity that they've been given. I agree with that 100%. At the same time, I mean, what are we asking Mike Tomlin to do? So, what are we asking Mike Tomlin to do? We're asking him to, okay, be better. You're right. Well, he got rid of the man. Isn't that all we can ask? So, Craig saying maybe drafting diva receivers. Define diva. Again, I hate the word diva. Like, diva is what we used to call women. And I don't think and I'm not trying to offend any woman or anything in here, but diva is what we used to call women. The guys aren't prohibiting woman behavior. So let's stop using the word diva, at least in here, because I think it's ridiculous. Just call them what they are. Knuckleheads. Dumb behavior. Let's just say that. It's okay to say. Look, on any other channel, you might not be able to say that. People may get mad at you. It's dumb behavior. What George Pickens does is immature, idiotic behavior. It's okay to say because I'm going to say it, damn it. And anything that I'm going to say, I'm going to allow you guys to say, just so we're on the same page. So it's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. My man Big G is in here. Don't crash out on us, Big G. We got you, brother. Said the problem is that we draft potential over production in the wide receiver room. We have to draft leaders and captains from college ranks at the wide receiver position. I mean, I don't know. Amari Cooper was never a captain at Alabama. I would say he's pretty good. Now, granted, right now, later on in Amari Cooper's career, he's a locker room problem. And we'll get to him when we're talking about who's out there that's left. But I don't think it's always has to be the captains of the team, because you can be great and not be a leader. It's okay to be a great and just not be a leader, just to go out there and do your job. But I think what the Steelers do is that they haven't valued character at the position as much as they should. And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier, is that the Steelers can very well just say, you know what? Because other teams have done it. We're not taking the knucklehead. We're just not going to do it. Pickens was a first-round pick, if you guys remember, or he was a first-round talent that slid to the second round because he was fighting. He got into 3 fights at Georgia. You guys forget that. Pickens would have been, hell, I think he would have been a top 15 pick. But because he acted like an idiot in college, teams are like, hold on a second. Hold on. So I think that's part of it. So I just think at some point, you know, man, Big G, you're talking 20 years ago, talking about Hines Ward, Emmanuel Sanders. That was 20 years ago, bro. I mean, you can't bring up examples from 20 years ago and then relate that to today. We like Hines Ward. We love Hines Ward. But football's different now than then. And we can't use examples from way back when. Not in my opinion. So I don't think anybody's sleeping on Calvin Austin. So I'm not sure where you're coming up with that, Walker. I mean, has anybody said that Calvin Austin wasn't any good? Has anybody even brought Calvin Austin's name up? I don't think they have. But we saw Calvin Austin last year, and we saw what the offense looked like last year. They need another wide receiver. Period. End of story. Calvin Austin is a number 3. He just is. There is nothing wrong with that. He's a very good one, but he's a slot number 3. He's not an outside receiver. That's not what he is. That's not his fault. Steelers need another receiver. They just need that. They need that. So, and there's nothing wrong with what Calvin Austin does. They need to ask him to do more, and hopefully they will ask him to do more. But I don't think anybody's disrespecting him. So, I mean, and the problem is maybe people that want to get on the internet and argue about football talk about people playing in the slot that they're not any good. And I'm like, so Amon St. Brown, like George Pickens said, Amon St. Brown was a slot merchant. Slot merchant, that entire name came up from internet trolls. That's what came up with it, with internet trolls. Amon St. Brown for the Detroit Lions gets 110 catches a year for 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. Do we care where he lines up to catch the football? Like, do we really care if I could get 110 catches for 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns out of you? Who the hell cares where you line up? But it's ignorance like that is what I'm talking about. I'm like, okay. Geez. I just, it's crazy. It's crazy to me that people think that way. They think that way. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, Roman Wilson's a slot guy. If he can get on the football field, you're right. And that's the thing. We just don't have a number 2. And no, Topaz, the wide receiver class this year, it wasn't strong. And that's why I wasn't mad about them not drafting a receiver because, hey, build the line. I mean, that's how you become good. Build your defensive line. The Steelers feel like they've built their offensive line. They feel like, okay, guys just have to they were young and hurt. They just have to get better. Although I always say you always invest in your offensive line, I feel like the Steelers have said, we did that. We've done it. Okay, now we got to invest in the D-line. Okay. And so now had I known that they weren't going to take good old, I don't know, if they weren't going to take, or if they were going to trade George Pickens, maybe I say, hey, maybe we should have taken at least a receiver in the 3rd or 4th round, but I'm okay with it. So I think we're fine. So I think we're fine. Kyler Murray. About Kyler Murray in black and gold. I think that ship has sailed for Pittsburgh. So I think that ship has sailed. I don't think Arizona's looking to trade him. Arizona's going to get better, and Kyler Murray's their quarterback. So I would say no. I would say no at this point, especially with the draft class of quarterbacks coming out next year. The Steelers don't need to do that for Kyler Murray. Move on. Move on. So, dead president said it's a terrible trade. I don't think it's a terrible trade. I don't like it, but I don't think it's terrible. It's understandable. And here's the thing. We are 100% worse. So, see, I don't agree with this. We're better than fine without GP. I don't agree with that, Mr. Barron. I don't agree with that. We're not as good of a football team today than we were when we had George Pickens. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You can't sit here with the straight face and say the Pittsburgh Steelers are better. That's just not true. It isn't true. We can talk bad about him all we want and talk about how he's a crash out, but you can't deny his talent. The Steelers are not better. They're not better. Now, if we can pick up somebody, get another receiver, doesn't have to be George Pickens type of talent. And that's where we'll go next is like, who else is out there? If we can figure that out and find that out, then I think the Steelers are going to be okay. So, you honestly think GP is better than DK? No. Who said that? Like, nobody said that GP was better than DK. But having them both on the same football team makes them better than if one of them is not on the football team. I think anybody with half a brain can tell you that. With George Pickens and DK Metcalf on the same football team, that team is better than if only one of them is on the football team. I don't think there's like a debate about that. For instance, how many people are talking about how good the Cowboys are right now? And they added George Pickens to play with CeeDee Lamb. Cowboys were this one day, better the next day because they added George Pickens. It's that simple. So, it's that simple. Will Howard is the future. Okay. We'll see. I hope he is. I hope he is. I just don't want people to put all this hype and praise on Will Howard thinking he's the next Joe Montana, the next Tom Brady because he's a 6th-round pick. There's been 2 6th-round picks since 2010 at the quarterback position that have amounted to anything in the National Football League. 2. So keep that in mind when we're talking about how good we think Will Howard's going to be. I'm not saying he can't be. I'm not saying that he didn't slip in the draft. Not saying that at all. But he did slip because if we're going to bash Shedeur Sanders for slipping, don't you do the same to Will Howard? Or do we not do that because Will Howard is a Steeler? You don't have to bash anybody is my point. Just keep it in perspective. That's all you got to do. Keep it in perspective. Vegas says getting rid of a cancer is not a bad thing. No, I definitely agree. I agree. And I think that, like I mentioned, I think teams are just shifting to saying we don't have to deal with the knucklehead. Like, we just don't have to deal with the knucklehead wide receiver. We don't have to deal with that. We'll be fine, especially with the rules on how with the passing game these days. Your wide receiver, you can have outstanding ones, but if you get middle of the road wide receivers, those guys can be productive based on the rules alone. So that's what I'm talking about is why the Steelers are just like, hey, man, we didn't want to pay him. He's a head case. Let's just move on. My only issue with the trade is why didn't you do it before the draft? And it sounds like everybody was lowballing the Steelers before the draft, and the Steelers were like, no, we're not just going to give him away. We're not going to give him away. And I know a lot of people think a 3rd round and a 5th rounder next year is giving him away. It's not. It's not. A 3rd round pick is still a 3rd round pick, people. And then yesterday I said the Steelers had 4. They have 3 third-round picks now. So they have a lot. They have a lot. So it helps. It helps in the grand scheme of things. So it helps in the grand scheme of things. So get Tyreek Hill. He's available at the right. If you're getting rid of George Pickens, who's an absolute crash out, why would you want to get Tyreek Hill? You know, look, Tyreek Hill has always been a little bit of an enigma, but he acted right most of the time. Have you all paid any attention to what Tyreek Hill's been doing this offseason? If you've paid any attention, and I'm not saying you should have, I'm just saying if you have, you don't want any part of Tyreek Hill now. And it's not because of his talent, because he was hurt last year playing with backup quarterbacks, and he still had a decent year. A down year for him, but a decent year. But if we got rid of George Pickens for being a knucklehead, then you don't want Tyreek Hill. You don't want that. You don't want that. And I just think we just don't have to deal with it anymore. Because I said this yesterday, and then we're going to move on. And y'all tell me if y'all agree with me. I think the Steelers got better other than the quarterback room. I think they're better at all the positions minus wide receiver. Like, I think they're better. I think the offensive line is going to be better, a year older. They're healthy now. I think the entire defense got better. The D-line got younger and bigger where we needed to get younger and bigger. Our linebacking room, I think, is better than what it was last year. Even though we love E-Rob, I think Peyton Wilson, with a year of advancement, can be better. Our secondary is better. Getting rid of Dante Jackson, Jimmy Christmas. I don't know about you all. I couldn't stand him. But our cornerback room is better. I think the Steelers actually got better, other than quarterback, which obviously is the most important position on the team, and wide receiver. But is it? Like, we had what we had last year, and we traded GP for DK Metcalf. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. The DB room is suspect in all caps. It's better than it was last year. So you can say it's suspect all you want. That doesn't mean it isn't better than last year. And I think anybody with eyes knows that. So, and that's the thing, Torsha. You're saying we didn't get better at wide receiver, but we didn't get worse. DK is better than Pickens. If DK is better than Pickens, doesn't that mean we got better? Because you switched out one for the other, and we think DK is better than Pickens. Okay. Look, I love Van Jefferson, but I would take Robert Woods over Van Jefferson all day, every day. So what else did we lose? Mike Williams? Come on. So I just think we're better. We'll see, though. Because, again, we could be better at every single position, but if the quarterback room isn't any better, but we'll see. We will absolutely see. Let's move on. Nah, I always am going to have some optimism, man. I'm always going to have optimism. I just look at everything in totality. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom fans out there, man. There's a lot of doom and gloom fans. And when I'm watching a football game, if you guys are members, you'll be able to watch them with me. I'm doom and gloom with every snap. I live and die on every single snap. Every snap. So I get the doom and gloom. I totally understand it. Totally understand it. So we'll see. But who's out there, man? Who's out there for the Steelers to get? Like Gabe Davis. There's a lot of people saying, I mean, he got cut basically during our live yesterday. I didn't even know that the Jaguars had released him. So what's going on, Wes? So, yeah, they ended up cutting Gabe Davis yesterday. And do the Steelers want Gabe Davis? I'm like, Gabe Davis looked good when he was at Buffalo playing next to Stephon Diggs. But if you really take a deep dive into Gabe Davis's game, he basically runs a deep post and a go ball. That's it. Like, he's not running any other routes. So that my thing is, I'm like, do you really want that? My answer to that would be no. So my answer would be no. Keenan Allen is a name that I wouldn't mind. I just don't think Keenan Allen is going to come to Pittsburgh. I don't think he's a West Coast guy. He got traded to Chicago and was fine with that. But he basically already said either I'm going to back to the West Coast or I'm going to go back to Chicago. So, but if none of those teams come calling, maybe he says, I'll go to Pittsburgh if that's an opportunity. I don't see him coming to Pittsburgh to play with Mason Rudolph, but who knows? Who knows? So, who knows? Let's see. Yinzer Joe is talking about, didn't Dante come up with 5 interceptions and Slay had none? I'm going to say, Yinzer Joe, if you watch the actual games, there is not even a question on who a better cornerback is between Darius Slay and Dante Jackson. Don't do that, bro. Don't do that, because when all you come off with is interceptions, it's like, oh, was Dante Jackson, when he's just reading routes and breaking on footballs, cutting off routes and getting interceptions, or did they come on deflection overthrows? Come on, man. It's more than meets the eye. Sometimes stats lie to us. Sometimes stats will lie to us. So don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. DJ Chark is out there. My thing about Chark, I like Chark. He just can't stay healthy. He literally just can't stay healthy. That's my thing with him. It's like he hadn't been able to stay healthy. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, you're exactly right, my man. It's a bit early for the Thunderbird talking about Dante is better than Slay. Yes, absolutely. And yes, Darwin, yes. The interceptions were overthrows and deflections. None of them were on him breaking on a football or anything, cutting off a route, beating a receiver to a spot. None of them came like that. They were all bad throws by quarterbacks, which you still have to catch them. I give them credit for catching the football. But, yeah, no. Don't do that. We can't be that. Talking about Romeo Doubs, we got to trade for him. I mean, if Green Bay wants to do that. But, again, Romeo Doubs, another slot guy. We already have 2 slot guys. We need a guy that line up on the outside, on the other side of the field for DK Metcalf. That's what the Steelers need. They don't need another slot guy. We already have 2. We have 2. So we got 2. They're talking about Alan Lazard, trading for him. I mean, I guess. Here's the one name that people keep throwing out, and I'm like, nope. And it's Amari Cooper. I'm not worried about how much money Amari Cooper is going to make. I think that's fine. But the one thing about Amari Cooper is Amari Cooper's a problem in the locker room, people. That's why the Cowboys got rid of him, is because he was an issue in the locker room. So they were like, think about the Cowboys had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb on the same football team. Why would you get rid of that? Because the Cowboys are like, yeah, this guy's a problem. They gave him away for a 5th-round pick. That's how much of a problem he was. Yeah, I don't want Amari Cooper. Don't want Cooper. Another name that's come up is Tyler Boyd. I mean, I don't want Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd he could have come to the Steelers last year. I mean, he's from Pittsburgh. Now, don't get me wrong. He's talked a ton of trash about the Steelers over the years, but you got to get over that. You're playing for a rival team. What do you expect? But he said, you know what? I'd rather go play in Tennessee than come to Pittsburgh for the same amount of money. Well, you know what? You're not serious about football. We'll move on. So there's a few names, but I don't know. So I don't know. And I would just be out on that. I saw some people in there put Chris Olave. Chris Olave is not getting traded. Chris Olave is young. He's good. He's had some concussion issues. And some of that has been from bad throws from Derek Carr getting his wide receiver lit up. But yeah, the Saints aren't trading him. They are not trading him. He's the best receiver they got. So they're not going to trade him. They're not going to trade him. So we'll see, man. We'll see what's out. I'm just looking at the chat and seeing what you guys threw out there. I think there's something left. I think the Steelers was. I think we gotta figure some stuff out. I still believe that the Steelers are gonna be. They're gonna look somewhere to add somebody because again, the reason they added Mike Williams last year is because they needed a guy opposite of Pickens on the other side of the field, not another slot guy. Now, granted, we didn't use Mike Williams, and Mike Williams, all Mike Williams seemed to be able to run was a ball. Now, he did win us a game in Washington, but after he did that, I don't think they even threw him another pass for like 3 weeks. It's like, man, what we traded for this guy for what? Like, what did we trade for him for? So, I mean, now here's another thing. A lot of people are talking about. Me and Mike Sports, my man Jason yesterday talked about this. Is that we talk about, hey, the Steelers have all this draft capital for next year's draft. Well, you got to remember, you can still use some of that draft capital this year and get somebody. Like, you don't have to just wait until the draft to use some of those draft picks. Like, the Steelers aren't going to take 12 guys in the 2026 draft. They're not going to do that. Number one, 12 guys are not going to make the football team. So they're not going to do that. They're going to use those draft picks to improve the football team and improve their draft position, whichever one they feel would best serve them. So that's another thing. You can go get a guy. We have to be realistic, and we only need a number 2. It's not like we have to go out and go find a number 1 receiver, people. We have one. We just gave him $150 million. So just go get you a number 2. Go get you one and see what happens. So, yeah, we need like 60 yards a game. I'm just not sure Gabe Davis is the guy. Now, but here's the thing. Gabe Davis was pretty good in Buffalo. He was. I mean, he had Stephon Diggs taking a ton of coverage away from him, and he was able to do his thing. But Gabe Davis actually technically would be perfect because he's a number 2. He knows he's a number 2. He had the opportunity to be a number 1 receiver and literally fell flat on his face. So that's not him. So he doesn't run a big-time route tree. He doesn't do that. So we'll see. There's some people that are out there. My question to you guys in the chat, is this the same Steelers? Is this the same old? Are the Steelers just not going to make a move? Are they just going to say, you know what? We got our football team. We got our wide receiver room right now, and this is what we're doing. Because here's the thing to remember. Even with the wide receivers that the Pittsburgh Steelers had last year, which is basically the same guys, remember, they still went out and made a trade for Mike Williams. So even the Steelers last year said, what we have in the locker room isn't enough. Now, I'm not saying Mike Williams did anything. Not saying that. But even last year, if you remember, they said, no, we can't just sit status quo. We have to do something. We got an opportunity here. We have to do something. And they did. They did. So that's something to keep in mind. That's something to keep in mind. I just think they're going to do something. I don't know exactly what, but I think they're going to do something if they're serious about winning football games. Now, maybe they're not, and this might be a reason why they're not serious about winning football games. Another one is if you don't have Aaron Rodgers, if he's going to be the Steelers quarterback and he doesn't even come into Pittsburgh, doesn't sign until training camp. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign until training camp, the Steelers are not serious about winning, man. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. If he doesn't come to OTAs and minicamp, they're not serious about winning. They're just not serious about it. And the Steelers are not going to be able to fool us. Look, we're an older, smarter football fan base, especially people that come to Steelers Almighty, whether you're a member or not, whether you subscribed or not. You guys understand football. If the Steelers let a guy come in, the quarterback come in right before training camp, he's not serious about winning football. Or unless, hey, he's got all these private sessions that he's throwing with DK and they're already putting in stuff and nobody knows about it. You know, he's doing all these private workout sessions that nobody knows about. If that's happening, that's something different. But my question is, if you're going to do that, why not just sign with the football team? You know, if you're going to have all these private sessions working with wide receivers that are on the Steelers, why not just sign with them? I don't know. So this is where we're at. This is what we're doing. We'll find out soon enough. Hey, I'm going to ask you guys, man, if you guys are in here and you are not subscribed, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, man. I appreciate it. We got a lot of stuff and a lot of content that we put out, especially during the season. You guys will love the stuff that we do in the season. Ask anybody that's been a part of Steelers Almighty community that became a part of it last year. Also, hit that like button as well. I would absolutely appreciate you guys. So let's see, man. I just don't know that this is the final straw for what the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to do. I don't believe it is. I think there's something else. I think there's another level of what they're going to do. So I really do feel that way. That there's something else. So there's something else. But we'll see. Digital. My man Digital Dust says that Caleb Johnson is going to get 1,500 plus yards this season. I don't know if he's going to get that, but if he did, just say Caleb Johnson gets 1,500 yards. Steelers are good, aren't they? Steelers are good. One guy gets 1,500 yards, I would say the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be good, especially since the Steelers want to run the football. That happens, the Steelers are good, and we're all happy. So we'll see what happens, man. We will absolutely see what happens. So Yinger said there's another shoe to drop. I think so too, man. I think there's something else. I think there is something else that is out there. There's something else that the Steelers are up to. I hope so. I guess that's optimism seeping through. I hope there's something else. You know, I don't want this to be it. We got to do something else. And it can't, I'm not talking about Aaron Rodgers. I don't mean that other shoe to drop. I'm talking about wide receiver room, something else to add to the roster. Something else, you know, to make us a better team, a legitimate football team. So Joseph says we went from having a potential lethal duo to a what the fuck. You're right. So, yeah, there's plenty of free agent wide receivers out there, Tim. We went over those a minute ago. There's plenty. Gabe Davis, Keenan Allen, DJ Chark, Amari Cooper, Tyler Boyd. There's even more than that. So the main thing is the Steelers need a guy that can play the outside. Alan Lazard is with the Jets. Steelers would have to trade for him. He just restructured his contract. So if they're restructuring his contract versus cutting him, which means he's in the Jets' plans, but the Jets would get rid of him for a 2027 seventh round pick, they'd trade him. You know, they would add the Steelers could get him for a 2027 seventh round pick if they wanted him on the football team. So we'll see what happened, man. We'll see what happens. So, well, man, we're going to shut this one down for today. I appreciate everybody being in here. Thank you guys a lot for everything, all the support. Thank you guys for getting up this early and being part of Steelers Almighty, man. We will be back. Make sure you subscribe and also make sure you hit that notification bell so you know exactly when all Steelers Almighty content comes out, man. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for being in here today. Love you guys, man, and aloha.